Hello and welcome to today's match of the 2022 Okaloosa County High School Academic Tournament. This year we have 6 schools from across the county competing head-to-head in a double elimination format. These standout students will be displaying their knowledge of math, science, history, fine arts and literature, pop culture, and more to determine our champion for 2022. I'm your host and moderator, David Honsinger. Lisa Null will be our timekeeper and scorekeeper, while Nathan Cook and Eirik Bernal will serve as our chief judges and make all final decisions on all things official. Nathan Cook is Chief Test Engineer at the 40th Flight Test Squadron. Mr. Cook is a Test Pilot School graduate flight test engineer with degrees in physics, education, engineering, and analytics. He is a California native and has lived in Okaloosa County for almost 9 years. Lieutenant Eirik Bernal is a test engineer at the 28th Test and Evaluation Squadron. Lieutenant Bernal is an air-to-ground weapons test engineer with a bachelor's and master's degree in mechanical engineering, with a focus on modeling and simulation. He is from Columbus, Ohio, and is a proud Ohio State Buckeye. Let's take a minute here to hear from some of our schools, and when we come back, we'll meet our teams and get underway.
I chose to come to collegiate high school because you get free college and your high school diploma at the same time, and that's the best opportunity for any high school student.
I wanted to grow as an individual, and so I decided to move here to not be grouped into these different categories that you'd find in like traditional high schools.
I came to collegiate because I wanted to get used to college work and just being in a college environment before I actually move on to a bigger university.
The thing that makes Collegiate High different from other schools in Okaloosa County is that we're a small school. Students that attend the Collegiate High School are not just a number. We know students by name because of the small school atmosphere.
So what's great about this school is that all the faculty are here to help you.
They want them to excel in their academic life and personal life.
At the other schools, I felt like I wasn't quite being challenged enough in all the fields, but here it's like, you have teachers that teach you well, and they teach you what's going to be applied in the future.
Many students think that if you go to collegiate, you can't play sports, you can't be in music, you can't be a high school student, but I still went to homecoming. I still went to the football games, I had fun with all my friends, and collegiate doesn't take that away from you. It adds on to your amazing personality.
In order to be successful at Collegiate High School, motivation, student motivation. You have to be academically motivated because you'll be academically challenged.
But when you go to a university, they'll see that you're dedicated and you're willing to take the course load that you'll be taking.
Let's say if you come one thought. This thought is that you are unstoppable. Because if you come here thinking, there's going to be too much work, there will be. It's not an easy school, it's a tough school. But you're going to come, and if you come thinking that nothing will stop, you will be successful, and you will be a college student.
Welcome back. Let's meet our teams today. First, from Niceville High School, under the coaching of Justin Reichard, we have
John Cathell, Senior.
Kendall Small, Junior.
Nick Ford, Junior.
Vivian Price, Junior.
And their opponents today, under the coach of Erica Kennedy, are Crestview High School.
Sophia Rivera, Junior.
Isaiah Norris, Junior.
Ananda Husto, Junior.
Matthew Cadenhead, Freshman.
Now that we've met everybody, let's go ahead and get started. Our first toss-up question is a social studies question. After this children's toy was developed by Ruth Handler, its company was sued by Lewis Marks and Company for infringing on another toy's hip joint. Name this fashion doll sold by Mattel.
Barbie.
Barbie is the correct answer. Your bonuses are fine arts questions. Give these architecture terms as defined by the Newfoundland and Labrador Heritage website. An open porch with columns supporting a pedimental roof, creating the entrance and/or centerpiece of a facade.
I would think patio.
Good option. Patio.
Portico. Oof. Next, a small structure situated on top of a roof, often domed with solid walls or 4 arches and covering a circular or polygonal area.
A skylight?
No, like a pavilion maybe?
Maybe.
What did you say?
Pavilion, maybe.
Pavilion.
Cupola. Our next toss-up is a literature question. This author's nonfiction works include a travelogue called Thrilling Cities and an exposé called The Diamond Smugglers, both written after his first major novels that include Casino Royale, Thunderbird, and The Spy Who Loved Me.
Fleming.
Yes, Ian Fleming is correct. Your bonuses are social studies questions. Complete these statements by Stephen Douglas from his initial debate against Abraham Lincoln in 1858. Prior to 1854, this country was divided into two great political parties, known as the Blank and Democratic parties.
Prior, it was not the Democrat, or it was the
I would say Whig, probably.
Whigs.
Whig is correct.
Yeah.
Next, two answers needed. During the session of Congress of 1853-54, I introduced a bill to organize the territories of blank and blank, not to legislate slavery or to exclude it, but to leave the people thereof perfectly free to form and regulate their domestic institutions in their own way.
Kansas, Nebraska.
Kansas and Nebraska are correct. Your next toss-up is a math question. Pencils and paper ready. Solve for y if the square root of the quantity y minus 3 equals 5.
28.
Say again?
28.
Yes, that is correct. Your bonuses are science questions. In the mid-1800s, British scientist William Thomson calculated that the temperature absolute zero was equal to about negative 273 degrees Celsius. After he was made a baron by Queen Victoria and then died, this temperature scale was named for his noble title, on which the triple point of water is about 273 degrees.
So we're looking for.
It's probably Kelvin because it's not Fahrenheit or Celsius.
Title.
It's Kelvin, Lord Kelvin, I don't know.
Kelvin?
Kelvin is the correct answer. Thomson suggested using this code with short flashes and long flashes to send information from lighthouses.
Morse code. Yeah. Morse code.
Morse code is the correct answer. Our next toss-up is a fine arts question. J.S. Bach wrote nearly 200 examples of this composition, defined by Webster's dictionary as a competition for one or more voices, usually comprising solos, duets, recitatives, and choruses sung to an instrumental accompaniment. Identify this musical composition, popular in the Baroque era as a shorter oratorio, whose name comes from the Italian or Spanish to sing.
Aria.
That is incorrect.
Cantata.
Cantata is the correct answer. Your bonuses are literature questions. His lesser-known novels like Redburn, Typee, and Omoo are based on his years at sea, as is his most famous novel. Name this American author who created fictional ships like the Pequod.
That's Herman Melville. That's from Moby Dick.
Yeah, I thought so. Herman Melville.
That is correct. Years after his death, this novella of his was finally finished and published about a young American sailor sentenced to hang while aboard a British ship.
Sounds like, I couldn't tell you. Maybe like Treasure Island or...
I don't know.
I'm going to say 10,000 Leagues Under the Sea. 10,000 Leagues Under the Sea.
Billy Budd for Tottenham.
Never heard of that.
Your next toss-up is a science question. This substance, generated in the human brain from the amino acid tyrosine, may be prescribed for low blood pressure. This chemical's surplus can cause schizophrenia, while its lack can cause depression,
Serotonin.
That is incorrect. I'll start again from the beginning. This substance, generated in the human brain from the amino acid tyrosine, may be prescribed for low blood pressure. This chemical's surplus can cause schizophrenia, while its lack can cause depression, ADHD, or Parkinson's disease. Name this neurotransmitter, sometimes called the feel-good chemical, because it is...
Dopamine.
Dopamine is the correct answer. Your bonuses are miscellaneous. Name these popular 2021 movies from their descriptions at boxofficemojo.com. A film version of the Broadway musical in which Usnavi, a sympathetic New York bodega owner, saves every penny every day.
In the Heights.
In the Heights is correct. Cypher enlists the help of Jacob, Dom's younger brother, to take revenge on Dom and his team.
That's F9.
I believe you.
It's one of the Fast and Furious. I think it's F9.
Oh, okay. F9.
F9 is the correct answer.
Movie.
Our next toss-up is a social studies question. It was his mother's native England who gave this man his nickname, not his father's native Portugal. In the early 1400s, this man explored the west coast of Africa himself in search of revenue and later sent others to explore the Cape Verde Islands. Identify this Portuguese nobleman involved in the slave...
Henry the Navigator.
Yes, Henry the Navigator is correct. Your bonuses are literature questions. Answer these about the labors of Hercules in mythology. He took the belt belonging to this queen of the Amazons.
Hippolyta.
Hippolyta.
Hippolyta, yes. He killed this creature by burning its neck stumps so it couldn't grow back its many heads.
Hydra.
Hydra is correct. The next toss-up is a literature question. A nickname for this man was found on an ancient jug in Israel in 2021. That name, Jerubbaal, was given to this man after God helped his group of 300 soldiers to defeat a much larger force of Midianites. Name this Old Testament man who, in the book of Judges, accepted his call from God only after he received two miracles, a wet piece of fleece in a dry area, and then a dry fleece in a wet area.
Xerxes.
That's incorrect.
Samson.
Gideon. Our next toss-up is a social studies question. Name the armed conflict whose campaigns with Americans in combat included Cambrai, the first one, the Somme defensive the following spring, the
World War I.
World War I is correct. Your bonuses are science questions. Give the chemical formulas of these anions. Dichromate with oxidation number -2.
Just guess one. Like, CHO -1.
What I want is Cr2O7. And permanganate with oxidation number -1.
So it's got manganese.
Oxidation.
MN4.
Defer to John.
MN406.
MnO4. Our next toss-up is a literature question. This writer's work on the movie The Misfits coincided with the breakup of his marriage to actress Marilyn Monroe. After that, his works...
Arthur Miller.
Arthur Miller is correct. Your bonuses are social studies questions. Answer these about industries that spent large amounts of money on political lobbying in 2021, according to OpenSecrets.org. This industry includes 4 of the top 6 highest spenders, including the insurance company Blue Cross Blue Shield.
Healthcare.
Healthcare.
Judges? No, I'm sorry, we're looking for medical, hospital, or pharmaceutical. The next part is, this industry's top spenders include Lockheed Martin and Northrop Grumman.
Defense.
Yeah.
Defense.
Defense is the correct answer. Our next toss-up is a miscellaneous question. Breeds of this animal include the white-faced Dartmoor, the Shropshire, the Hampshire.
Horses.
That is incorrect. I'll start over for Crestview. Breeds of this animal include the white-faced Dartmoor, the Shropshire, the Hampshire, the Portland, the Merino, and the German white-headed mutton. Identify this farm animal whose Afghanistan breed, named for the explorer Marco Polo, has big spiral horns and whose Chinese breeds...
Ram?
No, that's not acceptable. It's sheep. Our next toss-up is a social studies question. An area on this country's northeast Caribbean sea coast is known as the Mosquito Coast. This nation's Institute of Anthropology and History supervises its Mayan ruins of Copong.
Guatemala.
That is incorrect. I'll start over. An area on this country's northeast Caribbean sea coast is known as the Mosquito Coast. This nation's Institute of Anthropology and History supervises its Mayan ruins of Copong. Identify this Central American country located on its namesake Gulf that is east of Guatemala.
Mexico.
That is incorrect. It was Honduras. And that is the end of the first half. We're going to take a minute, total up the scores, and we'll be back after this message. Welcome back. At the end of the first half, our scores are Crestview High School, 80 points, Niceville High School, 85 points. We have one substitution from Crestview High School. Would you go ahead and introduce yourself, please?
Max Stewart, ninth freshman.
And now that we all know who's playing, let's go ahead and continue the match. Our next toss-up is a language arts question. The noun phrase often used with this part of speech is often called an object. Identify this part of speech whose name comes from Latin for to put before.
Preposition.
Preposition is correct. Your bonuses are social studies questions. Give these words from Palomar College's list of cultural anthropology terms. An adjective for a family consisting of husband, wife, and their children together.
Nuclear.
Nuclear family. The money or goods given to a man by the family of his bride at the time of the wedding.
Dowry.
No, dowry.
Dowry.
Dowry is the correct answer. Our next toss-up is a science question. In a chemistry lab, this color is used in the background of safety signs that point out the locations of escape routes, evacuation points, eye wash stations, safety shower stations, and defibrillators.
Green.
Green is the correct answer. Your bonuses are social studies questions. Answer these about sites owned by Britain's National Trust. The home of British engineer George Stephenson honors his invention of the miner's lamp and of his development of this transportation mode's standard gauge.
It's the railroad. Is that the
Yeah.
standard gauge?
It's railroad.
Rail car.
Judges? No, I'm sorry, it's railroad.
Oh, sorry.
Okay.
I thought it was a
Vice. So.
And the second one is the birth home of British General James Wolfe is now named for this Canadian province where he won the Battle of the Plains of Abraham in 1759 during the French and Indian War.
So guess a province.
I guess province.
would guess Ontario.
Newfoundland?
Ontario.
Ontario.
Quebec House.
Same thing.
Our next toss-up is a math question. Though this transformation can be performed even with non-symmetrical polygons, standardized tests usually only test this transformation with circles because circles have a very clear center point, often.
Dilation.
Say that again, please.
Dilation.
No, that is incorrect. I'll start over for Crestview. Though this transformation can be performed even with non-symmetrical polygons, standardized tests usually only test this transformation with circles because circles have a very clear center point, often at the origin. Identify this transformation that causes a figure to be spun up to 360 degrees in either direction around that center point.
Rotation.
Rotation is the correct answer. Your bonuses are miscellaneous category. In 1967, the National Hockey League added enough expansion teams to double the size of the league. First, how many original teams had there been since 1942?
Say like 8.
I'd say guess 12.
I don't do hockey. I'm saying 8. I'm saying 8. 12.
12.
6. So after that, there were 12. Next, this team added in 1967 has won the Stanley Cup 5 times, 2 with Mario Lemieux and 3 with Sidney Crosby.
No, that's the Pittsburgh Penguins.
Pittsburgh Penguins.
That's correct. Our next toss-up is a social studies question. After serving as both Secretary of State and Governor of his home state, he joined the U.S. Senate by replacing the late Robert Byrd and is now considered that body's most conservative Democrat. Often teaming with Arizona Senator Kristen
Manchin.
Manchin is the correct answer. Your bonuses are science questions. Give these terms from chemistry. A solid that separates itself from liquid as the result of a reaction.
Substrate.
That sounds right.
Or precipitate.
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 Nice.
This column of elements includes fluorine and chlorine.
Halogens.
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 Halogens is the correct answer. Our next toss-up is a miscellaneous question. This singer has Albanian ancestry and advertises for Evian water. At age 22, she was the most streamed singer in her native England, and
Adele.
that is incorrect. I'll start over. This singer has Albanian ancestry and advertises for Evian water. At age 22, she was the most streamed singer in her native England, and her most recent album had the fewest actual weekly sales in UK history for a #1 album. What singer's tune Don't Start Now?
Dua Lipa.
Dua Lipa is the correct answer. Your bonuses are fine art questions. It contains 2 major parts, the proper that changes by day of the week, and the ordinary that stays the same and includes the Gloria and the Credo. Name this religious ceremony often performed in Roman Catholic churches, whose musical versions, written by great composers, are often played in concert halls and not churches.
It isn't. It isn't. It isn't
Hymns.
prayer.
Hymns.
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 A mass. This German's Mass in B minor is number 232 in his BWV catalog. His Magnificat in Latin is number 243.
Bach, Wagner, I don't know.
I'm gonna say John Chance Barnes. John Chance Barnes.
No, Bach. Our next toss-up is a social studies question. Created in the mid-1800s as a department of everything else, this department now includes the bureaus of Ocean Energy Management, Reclamation, and Indian Affairs. What cabinet department, whose secretary in 2021 is New Mexico's Deb Haaland, also supervises the U.S. Geological Survey, U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service, and National Park Service?
Department of Agriculture.
That's incorrect. Nice, Phil.
Department of the Interior.
That is correct. Your bonuses are math questions. One measure of this unit is 231 cubic inches. Identify this unit, also equal to 128 liquid ounces.
128 liquid ounces, is that just a gallon?
Yeah, I think that's gallon. Gallon.
Gallon is correct. Pencils and paper ready for your second half. A car's gas tank is built to hold 15 gallons. If a gallon of gas is 231 cubic inches, how long is the tank in inches if the tank is 11 inches wide and 9 inches deep?
If it's 11 inches wide, that would be 21. It's 21 over 9.
2 1/3. 2 1/3.
No, it's 35 inches. Our next toss-up is a science question. Pencils and paper ready. Adding table salt to water increases the boiling point temperature of the water in degrees by an amount roughly equal to the molality of the solution after the salt is added. Find the increase in boiling point temperature if 5 moles of salt are added to 4 kilograms of distilled water.
Mm, 20 degrees.
That's incorrect. The answer is 1 1/4 degrees. Our next toss-up is a fine arts question. This film was inspired by a Japanese movie made 6 years earlier that featured actor Toshiro Mifune as one of a small group of men who volunteered to save a village from 40 thieves on horseback. Identify this 1960 film with Yul Brynner, known for its theme tune, that was remade in 2016 starring Chris Pratt, Ethan Hawke, Denzel Washington, and 4 other actors.
Magnificent Seven.
Magnificent Seven is the answer. Your bonuses are literature questions. Name the black female authors of these novels. This sci-fi author's work include the Patternist series.
It's a recent one.
Who?
It's a recent one. I just read her short story.
Octavia Butler.
Octavia Butler.
That's correct.
Yeah.
The author of Their Eyes Were Watching God.
We just
in
asked this question.
County.
Yes. Was it Maya Angelou?
Shoot.
Was
No,
it
it's not Maya Angelou.
No.
Just like
Maya Angelou.
The answer is Zora Neale Hurston. Our next toss-up question is a math question. Pencils and paper ready. As a fraction, in lowest terms, give the probability that when 2 standard 6-sided number cubes are thrown, the sum of both is less than or equal to 4. The answer is 1/6. Our next toss-up question is a science question. The outer part of this structure contains proteins that can interact with either lipids or sugars. Give the 2-word term for this part of a cell made of a lipid bilayer that...
Cell membrane.
Cell membrane is correct. Your bonuses are math questions, pencil and paper ready. Use L'Hopital's rule to calculate the limits of these functions in lowest terms. Quantity 3x plus 9 over the quantity 4x plus 12 as x approaches negative 3.
3/4.
3/4 is correct. Sine 3x divided by sine 8x as x approaches 0.
it's 3.
Cosine 3x. Cosine 8x.
Wait, what's the bottom one?
Sine 8x.
It's sine 8x.
Cosine 3x over cosine 8x.
3/8.
Yeah, it's
Oh, cosine. My bad.
And that is the end of our match today. We'll take a minute, total up our final scores, and we'll be right back. Welcome back. At the end of today's match, we have a final score of Crestview High School 110 points, Niceville High School 205 points. I'd like to thank you all for joining us and thank our sponsors, Microsystems Incorporated and 98 Barbecue. Please tune again for our final match.